Welcome to the Poetry Slam Africa podcast. And today we have an amazing guest, the 65th Slam Africa champion, an amazing poet, performer, historian, and aspiring children's book writer. Slim Shaka.
Yeah. Niaje.
Karibu sana.
Asante. I'm happy and excited to be here after a very long time. Manze kumekuwa na so many slams. And then now and I feel like we need to have this podcast. But I think it's important because personally I feel nataka kujua story ya, those people who came earlier, the second, nini. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to see how this podcast develops and more poets.
Yeah, actually, the whole idea of us actually having these conversations is because we find ourselves in spaces where there's so many new poets and they're looking for direction. Sometimes they just want to know, what did the people who came before us do?
Yeah.
And they don't even know where to look because, it was a time when we didn't have the luxury of putting material up on social media, YouTube. Very few people were able to leave like a digital footprint. So this is an opportunity actually to be able to interact with some of these people. And then you guys are going to tell us where your work is at, like where we can find it, how we can interact with it, and stuff like that. So yeah, that's part of the reason why we are doing this. Okay. So it's really cool. But now that you've also mentioned slam, I'm just curious to know, what's your thoughts on slam? Do you feel like it's something that's needed, especially within the spoken word poetry space, or it's not necessarily a thing? Because a lot of artists tend to say you cannot judge someone's lived experience. Especially if they've gone through something, maybe it's traumatic. They're coming on stage and talking about their deepest fears, things that they went through. And then, you just bring them back and be like, okay, you guys, yes, you talked about your problems, but we don't think you are good enough. So is it good enough that their story is not valid, or is it just how they presented themselves on the day? What are your thoughts on that?
I think what I'd say is, for me personally and in my journey in Avilan, how my art has developed, I think slam has played a very, very big role. And I think one of the things, meeting also other poets out there, we agreed, everyone seemed to contribute to the fact that slam is biased, and it has to be biased. That's the whole foundation of this thing, that now it's biased in terms, someone who's judging, they have to use their preference, for example, their relatability, language, and things like that. So as an artist, when you are allowing yourself that vulnerability and giving away that freedom, you are now setting yourself into the challenge of, now being weighed and being judged against. So if you don't feel like you want, or you don't want your truth questioned and things like that, then there are other platforms and other opportunities to use. But then slam, it's important in that it puts you out of your comfort zone. Of course, I've seen some poets really find their X factor in slam. I think some of my best friends in this space that I've made artistically, I found them in slam. And I've also seen some artists who have never been able to step on stage after, what they call, a slam judgment. And I've also seen artists try time and again, really wanting that crown. And then, so everyone has their reasons why they're slamming. So I think it's important. It presents you to a very diverse audience. That's another thing that people downplay. People have their own niche. Different poets have different followings. But then slam is where you find a very diverse. And sometimes even the winner doesn't really get opportunities as much as other poets. Because I was speaking to a lady who made a friend, the recently concluded women slam. Yeah, and she didn't win it, but then she she networked with some really big people. Now I've been checking how they've been like building their friendship and partnership, and you're like, so you got more than what the winner had. So I think it is important. It's built more poets. It's a culture.
Yeah. We were having the same conversation with Mbunge. Mbunge Aliat Parara, the 51st Slam Africa champion. And he was of the opinion that sometimes even the poets who don't win Slam end up, doing way better with what they have. We have poets like Ngatia who are doing amazing stuff. We have a couple other poets that I know of who did not win Slam, but they're doing amazing things. Someone like Griffins. Griffins has mentored like a lot of young poets, and he's doing a lot within the space that he's in. So when you look at the efforts that come from some of these individuals and whatever they went out and decided to do after, you realize that the value that they brought to the scene and to the space is much more than even what some of the other winners have ended up doing. But it's also just an opportunity for us to be able to also interrogate some of the reasons as to why maybe after winning, some people don't end up like thriving as much. But then also for some people, you find that the trajectory for them is just like, upward.
Yeah. For me, I think winning Slam does not necessarily mean that you are a better poet than the others. It just means you are the poet of the day.
Of the day,
like my poem or whatever I presented resonates more, or just found the audience in the particular mood. Like for example, I've rewatched our Slam, and every time I rewatch it, for me personally, Chioniso is like that artist. Like if I were in the judges, I see more. I like more what Chioniso did in comparison to me. Of course, of course, I want it. But me and my bias, I really like. I'm a big fan.
Where did you get this footage, by the way?
When?
Where is the footage?
You guys uploaded the whole video on YouTube, like the whole Slam.
Okay.
It's on YouTube, So I've watched it like 3 times, and I got to experience a lot. And that's another thing. When you are on stage, you don't experience other poets. It's just a lot of jitters and everything. So after the Slam, I went back and I was now watching all the other poets and experiencing them with all the purity of art as it comes. And I really enjoyed it. It was beautiful. So I think sometimes it pushes artists to a comfort zone. So now I've won it. It almost seemed like that's the highest prize in the land during that time. After I've won it, there's nothing more to prove.
More to go.
And then the artists who like came second, third, or those who are eliminated, they feel like maybe I need to prove to the judges I'm better, and somehow that competitive nature builds the industry. Well, people say it's not yet an industry, but the culture,
the scene or the culture.
People are like, I'll prove to them I'm worth more than their marks, and then people start disliking these judges, hating them, and somehow there's this ripple effect. It now contributes in them doing much more, and them searching how to better their art, how to better themselves, and all this is just because Slam was there.
I usually look at some of these experiences as the way I'd look at, say, school. So in as much as you go to school for the academic side of things, there's also the social side of things. Some of your closest and dearest friends could come from such an experience. Especially when you're being tested and there's all this tension and you're seeing each other at your most vulnerable. You tend to connect sometimes way more within such an environment than you probably would on a regular day. I know, like for you, for instance, you and Chioniso became like really, really good friends. You were peers, and you're inspiring yourselves in the different spaces. She went out and she did really well for herself off of this particular thing, and you also went out and did very well for yourself. So just looking at that and the experiences that have come out of that, how do you see this? Do you feel, maybe some people should come just for the experience of it?
Yeah, I think it's important. It's important when you put yourself in that pressure to try and get your X factor, to see how you perform under pressure. Again, for me, coming into Slam, I was in a very comfortable zone because I was with the Evolution Art Hub. We had people who would write your pieces, and then they would help you out. They would help you see, in the ways that to see the kind of writer you are. So they would constantly give you ideas. And now getting into that point where you are not dependent on anyone in your creative writing. One of the most beautiful moments, I never knew, strangers could be very close. I think was it 2017 or 2018? Our Slam, the first time I was eliminated. So Kikete, Ivy Sumbi, Ivy Roby, Stella Kivuti.
It was there.
No. It was not there. And yours truly. And then it was for the first time, and we were like, everyone was so nervous. People were like, guys, I can't stay there alone. How about we stick together? And then we started having conversation. We started not seeing each other as competitors, but as friends, started knowing about each other. And then guys even prayed together. And then now we started seeing a community form, So the guys, we went in the first round. Those who were eliminated came back. There was no bitterness at all. And then it's like you guys were supporting and cheering you on, So we built that community, and being eliminated again didn't feel that bad. And somehow later I came to see all these people, most of them becoming champions, like I loved what happened in the backstage, and how we immediately just formed a community there. And until now, I think we still are very great friends. And of course, you still have some lots where people just go compete and then everyone goes their own way. So I think it's important to just experience that once in a while. So when I went back for the second time now, I knew what it means, to get your poetic swag on, so it's valuable.
That's good. And actually, you've mentioned the Evolution Art Hub, and I just felt maybe we should take it back, like back, way back. So where did you grow up? And did you interact with any poets growing up?
Not exactly. I was born in Nairobi, but then I grew up in the village Sana. Didn't interact with poetry that much. No. Just in Shags, of course, it's just music, church. Just the normal way people grow up in Shags, school being the most important. I think now I started interacting with poetry in high school. And then this one time, I was telling Mufasa how great of a guy he is, because dance flashed it. The number 8.
The number 8 piece.
That flashed it, and Mufasa's piece, he was on NTV. So those were the first poems I interacted with, and I didn't even know that was spoken word. I was in love with public speaking. Of course, you remember how those public speaking used to be done, where you get into a jar, you mix, you pick,
and then you pick a topic.
So for me, I would develop similes, rhymes, I'd practice. And then somehow, you'd always find a way to alliterate something. I was like, I could do this, and then it sounds more musical. It sets you apart from all these other public speakers, So that's what I was doing until I went to a competition. I won it. I think I was in like Form 2 or Form 3. I think it was Form 2. So after winning the public speaking, teacher came and said, you know, what you're doing is actually called spoken word. It's an art. Then they played Dan number 8, and I was like, that's amazing. Yeah. Then Mufasa and his mom, you know.
You must have been at a very cool school for a teacher to play such.
No, they just played it on their phone.
Okay.
And then I was like, I want to listen some more. I'm like, no. So you go and write something of your own, something similar. Don't imitate. Just give us that feeling. And then I wrote my first spoken word. And yeah, that's how it started. Then now when I came to Nairobi, of course, that's the first thing I'm so excited about. I want to find a space where people do this. I didn't have a phone, so went into the cyber with a pen and a book, and then I Googled, you know, spoken word platforms in Nairobi. Then now you get all these. I was like, Eve of Poetry, Poetry Spot, Took, Open Mic, all those things. Sadly, they're never updated, but it
At
still
least,
happened. Yeah. So the one that was first on the list was Poetry After Lunch. When I went there, I found a community. And I'm like, I don't care about the rest. This is there. So that's how I found myself in the spoken word scene in Nairobi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting background. I tend to see a lot, especially when it comes to, you know, when you're speaking about people who inspired you.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of them don't know that they contributed in one way or another to you getting into the space and actually performing. But I think when we will have them on this space, we'll just, you know, it would be nice to also mention that, you know, they've inspired this newer generation of poets. So you are never one of those kids who would do like maybe performances, reciting memory verses in church and stuff like that?
Nah, I hated how it sounded. Actually, even in school, I didn't do the choral verses or the solo verses.
No drama festivals.
Nah, I hated how everyone sounded just similar, you know. Then there's how when they are narrating, they'd shake their like, hey, how well you shake your shoulders as you narrate, and you know,
It's like over dramatizing.
and then it's just also similar.
But you know, there's a space for that as well.
There is.
But it just wasn't for you.
Yeah, it wasn't for me. I liked public speaking more because now it's just you. Just do you. Talk to us, you know. So that's why I liked and debates as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would you say has been your best performance to date? Like, you know, that one moment where you're on stage. It doesn't even have to be like a show of your own or something, but that one moment where you felt it was like an out-of-body experience or a spiritual experience in some way for you.
Has to be Rio. It has to be Rio. It has to be Rio. And that was the semifinals.
So just hold on to that. For those who don't know what he's talking about, so Slim Shaka happened to be the contestant that represented Kenya at the World Poetry Slam Championships 2023. The competition happened in Rio, Brazil.
Yeah.
And so that is basically what he's talking about. So you can go ahead and tell us.
It was after, so we were 40, so like it was like 20 contestants had already been eliminated.
Yeah.
And then, you know, when you're here, you're thinking it's just World Poetry Slam, you know, till you get there and realize we are talking about creme de la creme of the world, you know. People are so diverse. People are beautiful in their writing. People are amazing. And then everyone came there as a winner. So it was not really about competition. It was about now leave an impact. You have to be memorable. I remember before we headed to the stage, because each level had its day. So I was showering, preparing to go to the arena, and I'm thinking to myself, how? Because not like, you know, these people, 80% of them don't understand English. And, for me, my muscles are in the writing, the entendres, I've done a lot. But, a lot was lost in translation.
Yeah.
So them translating in in Portuguese, a lot is lost. I'm like, manze, my biggest strength has been taken away from me. And how do I survive this? Because now we are 20, and then only 10 get to go to the finals. I want to be at the finals. But then even if I don't, how do I make myself memorable? And I shared it with the Ghanaian slam master. And he was like, why are you overthinking? You have everything. Just communicate, and don't communicate with the audience. Just communicate to yourself and be in the piece. I was like, how do I communicate when I know already, a lot has already been lost in translation and all that. It's like, exactly, communicate beyond language, beyond words. Make someone understand you even when they can't. There's something about emotion, about feeling, about tone. When someone feels something, you feel them back. So now I started a new way of rehearsal where now, as I was now rehearsing, it's more than just words. It's how do these words exactly make me feel? So then now it's the expression of each and every word. So yeah, so now I got a new way of performing, So when I went on stage, I just completely let myself into all the feels and all the emotions. It's a lot of energy, but I felt so good. I felt so nice. And yeah.
The judges responded positively.
Yeah, they did respond positively, but I think I remember I didn't care at that point. And then I had so many people come to me and they were like, wow, what was that? And like, that was amazing. That was spiritual. That is what people were telling me. That was spiritual and everything and everything. And yeah, that to date is still my greatest moment on stage. It was better than the finals. Yeah, I think it was because now I was letting myself into that way of performance for the first time.
Okay. And did you make some, say, meaningful friendships, and networks off of this particular experience?
Yeah. Some really, really wonderful networks. So again, I think the Ghanaians became very close. We still interact to date. They've been asking me all the time. They're like, so Ghana and Gambia, they're like, when are you staging a show? Because I told them about me doing my concept shows, and they're like, we're coming. We want to show up for your show. And I'm like, okay, it's going to take some time, guys. I don't have money. They're like, who said we want money? Just set up the show, and then we'll show up. So now. And then we have the guys in Spain and Luxembourg, and guys are like, yo, how about we do an album together?
Yeah.
And then you're getting guys are like, yo, whoever wants to travel to England, you come, I'll host you for as long as you like. Just all you need to do is, be ready with your ticket, flight ticket, everything. That's on me. So now we developed a community, even though the biggest problem was language barrier, but even with that, we developed a network that we are now like a family. So I think those who we were able to communicate with, I think now I can travel to about 30 countries without really wondering where will I sleep, what will I eat. I got family there. So
That's great.
that's the beauty. That's the beauty of it all.
Do you feel like, from the picture that you've painted,
Yes.
we're getting a sense of the fact that, if there was more opportunities available for artists to be able to just reach outside of themselves, just get out, travel,
Yeah.
they could open up an entirely new world for themselves and attach more meaning to the artistry that they create from this. And do you also feel maybe some institutions, maybe the government, could play a role in facilitating that process?
Yeah, I think creating that network with the outside world really advances our position and where we are at as families, because now, even as we speak, we're getting situations where someone is like, yo, I'm applying for a grant, and it requires, two other international artists who wants to jump on board.
Yeah.
And you're getting people also applying grants so that they go and stage it somewhere else. A good example is also with the reigning women's slam champ, not women's slam, but the world poetry slam champ, Lady La Profeta.
Yeah.
She showed a lot of interest, doing her tour in Africa. It's still in conversation. I hope it pans out. But you see now, we are now at a place where we are able to host a world poetry slam champ. It's something we never really thought of back then. It's something that I now can invite my friends. If we're doing an album, say with an international spoken word album, I'm able to tag along 2 or 3 because, guys don't mind. And again, say the England artist wants to link me up with other producers and other poets. They're Chioniso coming here. And by the virtue of, and I think that was very, very nice when we had our slam happening live also on YouTube. And so I made friends in Zimbabwe who are friends of Chioniso. And, we started a conversation about, ever doing something together. So now we are opening up, a lot of people get to know about our form of art, how we do it. I think the government can play a big role in just facilitating this and, ensuring that we create more of these networks. I remember I was given so many promises. But I still hope, they would deliver. They would deliver, because we get other governments are like, okay, so you guys are starting a conversation because of the World Slam. How about we sponsor you guys? How about we create a residency for you guys to meet and, do something together, an exchange program of some sort, Yeah, so I also saw it with the Brazilian embassy. Where they were asking me if I have a project also that I would like to involve Brazilians, and we do something together, and we'd let them know. So I think the government can, foster this, and it can benefit so many people. But I guess being the first Kenyan poet out there, it's already presented that possibility. And now I meet young people and other poets, and they're like, so now the ceiling has been broken. Now there's more to it. There's more to it. Now we want to travel the world. We want to take our work out there. Let's see what becomes of it.
I also, off of just what you've said, I'm of the opinion that, there's much more. And it could start with simple things like just processing a passport on time. You've missed out on opportunities because, you couldn't get a passport on time. And a lot of other creatives have. What do you feel maybe could be a solution to such a thing?
I think possibilities, the ability to dream it, the ability to see it. Just me having traveled, there are so many poets right now who are applying, for passports, and
just off of the fact that, they know they can go.
They can go, It's like, that's the process. You have to get yourself ready. And another beautiful thing, this is so amazing with the Women's Slam. Now people are like, okay, so getting to win Women's Slam, I get to go for the all women, Africa women. So now you're getting more ladies who want to be poets already have that. Camila already got her passport ready, and right now she's in a position, when I get any opportunity, I want to travel. So I think now more poets, because now it's possible, we can see it. All you need to do is get your game up, and who knows, if it's your day, you win it, and then you travel. It's as easy as that. So now more people are opening up to that fact. Also, for me, I never really saw it possible. I was like, if I ever get the opportunity to travel, it's far-fetched, so I'll have enough time to prepare. You know, we are never of the thought that someone can hit you up and be like, you know, are you able to travel next week, for example?
Yeah.
You know, so even me having experienced it, when I share it with my friends, you know, also there was the Commonwealth when I just
Yeah.
submitted a poem and I didn't know about it. And now I started getting emails from New York. Like, hey, we like that, we like this. And then they're like, they have a conference there. And then there are artists who are going there. Now I'm thinking about, you know, so it's actually possible to go for those conferences as an artist,
As an artist.
as a poet. I nenever thought it's possible. So when I go and share it with my friends, they're like, oh, so that's a thing. Let me get my stuff ready. Let me buy a suitcase.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I also think, you know, maybe it's time we started working on some sort of kitty, some sort of mobility grant
Okay.
that could be able to come in and assist, especially in this space, because a lot of times, you will find someone applies for, like, say, a showcase at a festival,
Oh, yeah.
and they actually get it. But then one of the catches is that you should be able to bring yourself to the festival. Then the moment you receive, you know, an acceptance from that particular festival, from that particular session,
Yeah.
then all your troubles begin. You know, now it's, run up and down, try and figure out, okay, if you have a passport, then how are you going to get your ticket? Once you have your ticket, how are you going to, you know, get your visa?
Yes. Oh, that's
And then they
another
ask
thing.
for like a lot of things. And sometimes you can go ask for your visa and then it gets rejected. You still spend money and that money is not refunded. You know, they don't even give you an opportunity to be able to do the process again on the same amount, just in case, you know, it might be able to go through. So I look at that, and in my thoughts, I feel maybe if we had a way, you know, an avenue, first, of resource people who can be able to advise, especially on some of these processes. You know, if you want to get a
yes.
visa, do this. If you need to have like a bank statement that reads a certain way, this is how you start planning ahead for that. If you want to get a ticket to travel, you know, there's these avenues that are available that you can be able to explore. Yeah, and then outside of that, we can also just support maybe a thing or two, pocket money, something, so that when you go out there also, you don't look like you're coming from an impoverished country, and you need help, you know, things like that. But yeah, there's that. But at the same time, also, just before you get in, I've also seen majority of arts and culture activities, especially in our country, are supported by foreign missions, foreign embassies, foreign institutions.
Yeah.
Do you feel like either we are just seeing that because we're in the city, or do you feel like, you know, this is a lost opportunity, especially on the part of the current government?
I think there's a lot to it. I think more of the things that we don't clearly understand, or maybe I think there is a problem with how youth's art and culture are viewed. You know, I don't think we have people who care enough. I think we have too many politicians in our spaces rather than those who really care. And more times is when you're given an opportunity or space, it has to have something to give them political mileage. You know, even in the ministries that are supposed to be serving us. You know, when I was taking my letter to the government asking for support, you know, I was not expecting to be given stories, you know, in comparison to how other nations were doing it. You know, people are very excited. People are being invited to the offices of the ministers to have conversations, and they're like, how do we make this a long term? How do we make, say, a good example was with countries like South Africa, but few of, I don't know, it's a problem with most African countries. Yeah, because in abroad, it's easy, you immediately get it, and they're there to support you. They're there. I don't know, maybe it's because the economies are stronger. I still don't clearly understand. But then ours is, okay, how many followers do you have? If we say we've supported you, how many people will know? Or do we get to trend?
Wow.
So if you have a lot of followers, and that story has the ability to, or the potential to blow up, then they will rush to assist. But then if it's just another story, then it's, again, just another story. So I think we need to, again, that's just us, people who vote, the leaders that we put in. I think we have to be very intentional. We have to keep asking that we get more people who deeply care, about what we do. You go into these offices and they call, you're a poet, and they're like, these things that you young people do. It's like you're passing time, So we need to have more of these kind of conversations. That's the only way that we'll get to be heard. When we were having conversation again in Rio, the difference between us and the poets in Europe is them already just being here is a big thing, is a big deal. They're recognized, putting it in their accolade, they're going to get a lot of opportunities. And we were trying to explain to them, to us as African artists, it's different because we have the responsibility of winning. You have to make it to the news, for you to draw opportunities. Getting to the finals is not enough. Flying all the way is not enough.
You need to be the winner.
You need to be
so
the
that
winner.
People will wait for you at the airport.
With flags, and so that you're able to call the media and say, we won this, and now you get the spotlight, and then you can talk about how important this is, and how we don't have resources, and how we don't have enough theaters, and how we don't have enough government support. Things like visas, are not supposed to really stress out an artist, especially when you're going for these international gigs, but you still do. For me, getting a visa, I had to write a letter that had to go through like 4 offices before getting to the Brazilian embassy. And those letters started moving 3 days, to the deadline. So if I seriously dependent on the government, I would not have gotten my visa. So I think such things need to be held with the seriousness they deserve. But then again, more and more conversations would make this intentional. Yeah.
Okay. I think now I want to shift gears and talk about your poetry, in specifically what you write about, and what you feel your poetry can be able to achieve. Where do you draw inspiration from, and what do you write about?
Okay. I wrote about a lot of stuff, but I think what inspires me the most is stories. Yeah, stories are beautiful. Stories are amazing. And just to think of what stories could do. And again, stories do change the world. The poems that won the world in the World Poetry Slam platforms were all stories, people trying to talk about the struggles back home. The Brazilian poet was talking about police brutality, and by the fact that where we were performing, just outside there's a road, and a young person was killed just a week before, was shot dead by the police. So when they talk about police brutality to these people, it means it's real. It's something that happened last week. We buried someone. who meant everything to their family, And when we who are coming as tourists listen to that story, the relatability, and we're like, so it's actually a global problem. Yes. So what is it about police that they feel like they have the power to take a life, just because they have the gun? So now it broadens the conversation. When you are in your hood, you're thinking maybe it's because they want to control crime, so they want to instill fear, or maybe it's because we have been targeted as a community, and then now you travel outside and you realize, it's something. So now it broadens the conversation. You hear, the Colombian, the lady who again won, a Lady La Profeta, talking about terrorism, them showing up in helicopters and shooting people, and you have bullets spraying through the roofs. That is a whole other level of terrorism late at night. And then you have artists using that situation to inform the world and also just heal the society. You have artists talk about what's happening in Gaza. So now we find ways in which the relatability of this story can impact people. I think that's the beauty of it all. I've staged a number of shows, and I think my most beautiful show that I still love to date was the one in Mathare. Starting a show and talking to people about what this place means to them, and they're starting from a point of, we don't even know where we are at exactly. We just know we are in a slum where we would do anything to get out of, having those conversations at the beginning of the show, and then giving them the story of this space, what it was before it became a slum. And now they're like, okay, so this was actually a space of sanctity, and now they're like, okay, so the blessings, can live here, spirituality and all that. This is actually a respected space, it's only that it's a slum now. And then now seeing that these stories are transforming how people think, how their mentality towards this place they call home. So so I am in love with that specifically what these stories do, and I get stories from history to be, a very beautiful tool to teach this. So mostly for me, it's just stories. Though I also write about other stuff, entertainment,
love,
heartbreak. What's with poets and heartbreaks, though? I don't have a heartbreak poem, though.
Yet.
Yeah, I think I have inspired people. I haven't written one myself. Someone needs to break my heart, and probably could get something.
You could get something. You could start a career.
That's a joke. An album, a fire album. You broke my heart.
I think some of the most brilliant writers write from a point of pain and suffering and anguish and angst. And sometimes you just get to see that side, and you find if more than half the world can connect to the pain more than the joy, I don't know, maybe that's part of the reason why people look at poetry as more of like a serious sort of art form than they would say music or dance or something like that.
And poets are angry, poets are sad and depressed. Mbunge specifically with his album, one depressing album after another. But he's talking about real issues, about societal issues. I like what MC Elfra says in his music. He has a song that he says, I can't sing about booty right now, not when young people's life are being cut short, not when young people don't have job opportunities, and also I'm linking that to yesterday. Actually, I was, after listening to Chio's TED talk, immediately I was like, I want to see what Mufasa did.
Yeah, and then you went looking for it.
Yeah, as him performing "My Boys Are Dying," it's always revealing. It's yo, my boys are dying because they're going around feeling like the whole country doesn't have their
They're
back.
back, yeah. Going
And
back to
they,
back, blaming a whole
country for
not
not having
their
their back. Yo, I was like, pose. Yo, this is me. Okay, play.
Yeah.
So I think there's more pain that needs to be expressed out there. The people who need to be heard, and I think poetry is playing that specific role. And it's a beautiful thing. I think there's no problem about having more sad poems, a lot of sad
Who wrote
poems,
the sad poem?
and heartbreak poems, and we also have the love poems, the angry poems. I think they give us the outlet and they speak for us in a way. So yeah.
Yeah. Is there any specific conviction you have as an artist, specifically around what you think your art form could do for, say, our nation?
Yeah. For me personally, at this point, I feel like where I am, because again, this thing keeps changing.
Changing, yeah.
Yeah, but right now I feel like history, our stories, we need to know more about them. Again, schools, I think schools wasted us, especially history. I loved history in school, but then now, getting to that place where I'm like, why did they have to keep all the amazing stuff away from us? Why did they stuff all this colonial prowess about us? Yeah, why they keep insisting on collaborators and resistance? And if you're reading about resistance, it's not about they fought back. It's about manze, they were defeated. And you keep reading about what the colonial government did to better our economy and all that. So even now, as I'm just reading and exploring our history, I'm looking and partnering with high school teachers, where if they're learning about World War One and World War Two, I get to give them the story that is not in the textbook, and we're just having a fun and entertaining moment where now they get the stories that were not, written by. They usually say it's the hunter and the glorified hunter. Yeah. So the lion story. So now with and I think technology is also helping a lot, because in our times we had nothing but the textbooks. So now they can research, they are able to get to see what's out there, what's been written out there. They are able to question about what's in the textbooks. We never really had the power and the knowledge to question. We were those who absorb and give, So history for me.
You mentioned technology. Yeah, and it's an interesting thing because if you just look at simple advancements, like for example, having social media where you can actually put the contents of your heart. You can bear your heart out, convert it into some sort of digital format, and then put it out there for people to be able to interact with in the future. We're being allowed an opportunity to be able to shape and leave our indelible marks on history by just being able to speak. But also outside of that, there are newer advancements like machine learning, artificial intelligence. And we're getting into a space where it's quite difficult to draw general parallels between authentic art and probably material that has been generated by artificial intelligence. Do you feel AI is a threat to art, or do you feel like it can be harnessed for good, especially in terms of improving the quality of artistry?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I feel like AI is only a threat to purity and vulnerability of art. When we were having this conversation in Nakuru a while back on World Poetry Day, Goofy said something that, stood out. He said, AI cannot fathom what I feel about my mama. Like me, my piece about my mom, there's no way AI can write it with the vulnerability that I would write it. So of course we see a lot of poets, try and venture into that. We see criticism flying all the way, but again, someone needs to try it. Someone needs to dip their feet into that water, and everyone to criticize, and then would know. So this is where not to cross, and this is the path to try. So, but I still think right now AI can do a lot of things, but then when it comes to art, still, the artist grounds it all. And artists can find inspiration, of course, and there are also artists who are using AI really well, in generating ideas, in weaving concepts. I think that's a nice way of doing it. I think I was explaining to the panel that time, with AI, I am able to summarize histories that initially I was not able to. Like AI can go and bring me a summary of the books that I need to learn about particular thing, or say I'm studying about, say, Hamilton, the musical, and then I need to know some technical things that they used in the show, or I need AI to analyze the entire show for me, and also where they had borrowed as a concept show, and with an aim of learning from it and adapting. So with that, now AI makes learning for me easier. It's something I needed to read maybe 20 books, AI gets to ease or soften that for me, because right now I'm trying to look for his World War One history, and I was at the National Library, and then I have like 6 books that I really need to read. But then there are some that are not. You get to some parts that they're not really helping me, but then I have to read them. So AI kind of narrows that, So let's see what becomes of it as time goes by. But I see it's learning. I see it improving by day, especially with the visual arts. Yeah, with how the generating of images, I see how it's advancing and becoming more and more realistic, and learning from its mistakes. So I really can't tell where we will be at maybe in the next 10 years with AI. Maybe it will get to a point where people will feel like, again, it's just boring. AI is too predictable. And people will be like, let's go back to, the authentic art. But then other fields find it very helpful, researchers, guys in the field, medicine, geography, and all that. But then art, that's a whole different line.
I am one of those people who believe that art viewed in isolation looks like a dreamer's sort of utopia. Whereas if we look at art in relation to life, socialization, and the ability of art to be able to contribute to the advancement of both, civilization, and also civilization here, I'm looking at it as, advancement of, the things that we need, and also just grounding us to who we are, our authenticity as human beings and as people from wherever we come from.
Yeah.
It could have a huge impact, especially in the way that we look at things. And let me give you like a random example. If you are a Star Wars fan, there's one of the episodes where Luke Skywalker loses his hand while in a battle with Anakin Skywalker, who's basically Darth Vader. And then when he loses his hand, there's the hand is replaced by a prosthetic. But then fast forward, that specific bionic arm and the model that was used inspired, later models of bionic arms.
Okay,
That,
interesting.
that were being created by a specific company. I don't remember the name. But then you see art inspiring the design of something that ends up assisting or aiding, persons with disabilities. And you're just looking at things from that angle, and you realize that if we chose to just go beyond the way that we look at art as some sort of entertainment and catharsis, and interrogate it a little further, we could get to spaces where we inspire so many things. And I usually also just go back to music, for example, as a genre. The the civil rights movement was catalyzed a lot by, the involvement of poetry and chants, and music and art in general. You look at the independence struggle in South Africa, there was a lot of music that was involved, and it united the people. People would go out when they are protesting and they would sing and chant in the streets. You understand? There's this random time when Bob Marley finds himself in Zimbabwe and there's a riot and he's performing,
that was legendary.
So you look at some of these instances in history and you realize how much art has the power of connecting us as a people. But then if you look at it in isolation, then it is very easy for you to say, like, I love that you love the guitar, but can you do math first? Yeah. What is your general opinion on some of these things? And what do you think maybe could be harnessed, especially in terms of trying to push or advance art and the perception that we have for art?
Well, now that you talk about it, I was thinking to myself, science and technology, especially technology, is imitates life. Just the iPhone imitating the eye, and it's always there. People get to see it, people get to use it and appreciate it. It's something tangible. So science being an imitation of life, art is actually an expression of the same. So, but then expression of life in its different forms, people need art and they can always get it. But then they never value it until they really need it. You remember times when COVID was here, and right then and there, people now realize, it's actually artists who've been keeping this world sane,
Yeah.
So now everyone is like, what can we do for the artists? You have governments all over the world looking for ways to support artists and keep them moving. But then once now COVID is gone, everyone is back to their lives. They forget, that there's that essential part that art gets to play. And then art is always working, even when it's not given what it deserves. Well, science and other arts would not, you have to invest for you to get returns. But then art is always there for our pain, for our joy. And it's easy for people to not cultivate and give it what it needs. So it just starts from those people who appreciate us, and we as artists, those little shows that we do, being very intentional about it. And big up to Ngatia and the show that he did, Diverse.
Beautiful.
That was a beautiful show, and now you see what Goofy is doing with his upcoming show, Nyash staging a show in Nakuru. So more and more of us giving value and being in that space where we are giving a society who we are and what we are. Yeah, and slowly now we open for the conversation. Someone who attends, or attended a show, say like Diverse, they now get to understand exactly what art can do for an artist. So slowly we are having these conversations, but I think for the longest time, this question people still ask, and it's all over the world, is will artists ever be just respected, as artists, that as an art? We see, I remember Mufasa's poem when he was performing at Nairobi Dating Stories, still bringing the question of the older generation asking, is being a poet, is it even a thing? Chioniso and her TED Talk, talking about this is actually, a career. I'm actually a poet. And then there was also another TED Talk I watched of also a poet who quit his work as a surgeon to be a full-time poet, and now they had this problem. It got to a point for 2 years the mother didn't speak to him out of bitterness. How could we take you to a medical school for all that time for you to throw it all away for something like poetry, something we are unsure of? And so slowly now it being recognized is following the process that other careers do, like certification and being recognized in that sense. So slowly I think maybe we need to start involving the government in recognizing, poets in this in this country, those who've achieved great things, and programs as well, and having certificates that actually do matter. Now, when we start from that, and then now we start to see them getting jobs, as poets, and recognize jobs. So that will immediately shift the conversations, because I think there was a time when being a DJ was
it was frowned upon.
Now you're a DJ, okay, where do you play? And it's respected. DJs can even brag, you're better than artists. DJs now, they are the ones who are building artists, they're building rappers, they're building genres. So I think just slowly, where the money is, I think that's where recognition is. So slowly. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Slim, for this conversation. I know, we could have continued. But we're hopefully going to have you back for another sit down. So that has been Slim Shaka, doing the most, saying the most. But we hope, these episodes are going to inspire, poets who are hoping they can be able to take this particular journey and try and make something of their artistry. So like, subscribe, follow us on all social media platforms, and attend a Poetry Slam Africa event near you. Thank you.